Hello, my name is Carvey Davis. I came into this world in Baltimore in April of 1924. And my first job was with Montgomery Ward as a stock clerk. And then the war came along. Discharged from the Army in 1945, December of 1945. Came back home. Had no idea what I wanted to do in life. And I was standing up at Walbrook Junction one day watching the streetcars. There's lots of activity at Walbrook Junction. And there's a little sign on the wall there that they were taking applications for operators and chauffeurs. I thought, gee, I always wanted to run a streetcar, so I went down and got hired. And I worked streetcars and buses for 15 years. Left the transit company and went with the state of Maryland. Then I went with the MTA. Transferred to the Public Service Commission. I became the railroad inspector for the whole state of Maryland. Then I had an opportunity to go with the Federal Railroad Administration. I was inspecting track from Pittsburgh and points west all the way to the East Coast, up and down the corridor. My favorite car to operate was the Spires Point Red Rockets train line cars. We used to run two-car trains, and they were great cars. You could do anything with them. First car could break down, you cut the motors out in that car, the second car would do all the work. And they were wonderful cars. I loved them as far as I was on the front end. I didn't like conducting one bit. And after that, I liked the Peter Witt cars, such as 6119, currently in the museum. The streetcar museum idea started many long years ago. I think there was a man at the transit company named Clark, and he had a vision of starting a streetcar museum. Baltimore Transit Company was a streetcar company. Bancroft Hill was the president. He was pro-streetcar. So they made a selection of historic cars, and they finally did get them all together at Irvington Car House. Well, meantime, National City Lines became the owner of Baltimore Transit, and their aim was to get rid of streetcars and replace them with buses. National City Lines sent a new president to Baltimore, and on a tour of the facilities, he was in Irvington Car House, saw these old streetcars sitting in there, these antiques. He said, "What's this?" Shop manager's taking one of the tours, said, "They're a collection of old streetcars for a possible museum." So this president said, "Get rid of them. They're all wood. The ceiling on this car house is wood. It's a fire hazard. Get rid of them." So I heard about this, talked to a friend of mine, Charles Lloyd, and he thought it'd be a good idea to go down to the transit company and talk to Clyde Headley, who was public relations director at the time. He referred us to a company attorney. So we went in to see him and told him what we wanted to do. He said, "Fine, I'll sell you the cars for $1. What are you going to do with them?" So I thought about George Nixon. George started the Baltimore Society of Model Engineers back in the early 30s, and he started the Baltimore chapter of the National Railway Historical Society. George knows how to get things going. We'll talk to him. And he was in favor of the idea, and he took over, and he became the father of the streetcar museum as we know it today. The group asked me if I'd pick out a Peter Witt car for the museum. I worked that car on the 13 line. It was a good working car. The company was agreeable to give us one, so I picked 6119. Just a group of guys having a good time.